I can't believe we've never met
No,
before. I
no,
don't think.
we've not. And not only have we not met, we've not emailed, we've never corresponded.
No, so it's really nice to meet you.
Likewise, it's funny because I don't feel like I know you, but I feel like I mean, I know I've known of you for a long time, probably close to 20 years at this point. Or
Hmm.
yeah, let me do the math. Yeah, maybe 15. Yeah, probably just over 15 years.
20, it'd be, yeah.
But I feel like I've seen the world through your eyes so
Hmm.
many times that
Yeah,
it's whether you mean to or not, as a creator and as a photographer and a videographer and all the wonderful things that you do, you create this level of connection with people, even though you've never
sure.
met them before. So thank
Yeah,
you for that. Um,
you're welcome.
let's talk
Yeah.
about it.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
Finally.
Thanks for saying yes, finally.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start where we start every episode, and that is just simply where you were born and raised.
Born and raised. So I was born in Helena, Montana. My dad's family is from that area, Great Falls. Um, and yeah, so that was back in 1976 in Montana, and we lived there for a few years. Um, and we made our way out to Washington. My dad was a my dad was a beekeeper in Helena.
Professionally?
Yeah, like full on. Yeah.
That's
That was
unbelievable. That's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And my dad's a really cool guy. He uh he had a plexiglass wall in our house. And I was so little, I don't really remember it, but there's photos. And he had like the honeycombs, the bees would fly in the hole by the front door, and then you'd see the work of all the bees in the wall.
In your house.
Yes.
Oh, this is so cool.
Super cool. And so I was really little, like I was like, when we moved, I was like 2.5 or 3. So I was, you know, I don't really remember it, but I
Little.
see all kinds of crazy photos, him all suited up, and that was a job. So anyway, he started a family, and he figured out like I'm not gonna be able to do this and make a living with a family. So we moved out to the Seattle area.
Got it. And how old were you around 3 years old?
Yeah, yeah. And so I kind of grew up around Issaquah. There's a small town
Yeah.
outside of Seattle.
Oh, I know it. I love it. There's good fishing over there.
Yeah, there is. There is. That's where I pretty much learned. Well, I did a lot of fishing around there when I was growing up. But yeah, so, born in Montana and grew up in around Seattle, you know, Cascades area.
What did dad do for work there? Tell me he didn't go do some office job that he was unfulfilled at.
Well, no, he got a good job with a fence contracting business, so
Awesome.
construction business in Seattle back. So that was like 1980, around 1980, 80 or 82. Anyway, so um it was kind of booming. Like in Issaquah, I remember I had cousins in like Kirkland and Bellevue, and they're like Issaquah. They used to call us like Hicks out in Issaquah. There was one stoplight. Issaquah was kind of farm country. Now it's crazy. But so he got a good job, and then he started his own business and moved it. We first actually moved to Redmond, and then we moved to Issaquah. So I grew up, from kindergarten all the way through high school in Issaquah, Washington.
Yeah, you're a West Coast boy. I did not know this.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're also
And
a
then,
lot younger than I thought too, because when you hopped on, I had a moment of, oh, he's young and 76. You're totally younger than I thought you were going to be.
really?
Yeah, because your work is so, I'm not saying you're not mature. I mean, I know we're adulting now, even though in our 40s, I still feel like I'm in my 20s, but
Yeah.
your work is so mature. I don't know, I feel like through your lens, there's just this beautiful, profound maturity, which is, of course, allowed. Sorry to cut you off. There's a slight
Yeah.
delay, so I'll stop talking and let you catch up.
Yeah, so growing up in Issaquah, we have the salmon, steelhead, and even trout. The trout are small, but it was a great place to learn. But the really cool thing is my dad had that really, um, my mom and dad met in Bozeman at MSU. So my dad went to MSU, all his brothers and sisters went to MSU. So my parents met there in Bozeman, and we'd always go back because that's just where he's going home, right? And he still has great friends who live in that area. And so as a kid, we'd go back we'd go back every summer. We'd make that road trip, a full day drive. They'd get us up and early in the morning. We get there late at night. And fishing out there, that's where I really got the itch for, the classic Rocky Mountain stream type fishing. And
Yeah.
I still love it today.
So who
So,
who took you out? Was it your dad or your grandpa?
um, yeah, my dad had a fly rod.
Okay.
Um, he had one, and it wasn't like when growing up in the Seattle area, it was more spin fishing, like like conventional stuff. But he did have a fly rod. It was hilarious. He would fish the Missouri a bunch. So he had this what was it? It didn't make any sense. I want to say it was a um Abu Garcia like 8 foot 8 weight or something that they fished a bunch. It
An
was just
8 foot
weird.
8 weight by Abu. Was it just stiff as anything? Like
Yeah,
pool
yeah, and he
cue?
still has it. But believe me, I fished that thing like crazy because I didn't have anything else, right? That's kind of what
Yeah.
I was on. This like giant. He had that one of those, the old reels that the push button with the spool and the spring. It's just like I thought that's anyway. That was when I was really young.
But was
And
it a glass rod? Maybe that's why they made them
yeah, yeah,
shorter
yeah.
because they're heavy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when we still, we lived in Issaquah throughout, like going into middle school, we took some classes, like the Kaufman Streamborn fly shop was in Bellevue. So we'd go over there and take classes. And then getting old, getting a little older into high school, like Creekside opened up. So my really
All
good friend
right.
at Creekside, they opened their shop, and that was like the best because that was right there in town. So I learned a lot there. Just learned a lot in high school going out to the Snoqualmie River. Snoqualmie River was like a 15-minute drive. And they're fish, they're not big, but it was a great place to practice and get into it. So, and that was fun. But the Montana trips were the trips where I learned that's where the big fish were. That's where I learned how to wade. Well, I learned how to wade really well in Washington too, but just the freestone foot fishing on the Yellowstone River in Paradise Valley. That's where it was. That's where I learned.
Yeah. Geez, those are two great places to be going back and forth to.
Yeah.
Did you have grandparents in Montana? Were you a generational
Yeah,
Montana
but
family?
grandparents were in Montana, but then they moved out to Washington too. My dad.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so it is in your blood.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about life? What did you want to do in high school? Did you want to be a professional outdoorsman like your dad, or did you want to do something more conventional?
Mm, that's a really good question. I don't think I really knew what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was playing with cameras in high school for sure. I was shooting my friends with my parents' old cameras just for fun when we go on fishing trips. So the big fishing trip for us was going over the pass to Eastern Washington. So to fish the lakes or fish the Yakima or something like that. That was what we did. That was the big like, let's go on a weekend, like we'll go camping. You know what you do in high school? You just go hang out with your buddies. That's what we did.
Yeah.
And so I but for some reason I had a camera and I'd always just like to document it for fun.
Right.
So
What
yeah.
kind of camera back then? I know yeah, this was before digital era. So one of
Yeah,
the
because like there
proper
were like my parents had like an old Super 8 camera, which it had like film reels, but that was really early. That was like they had that. But for me, it was like high eight tapes, like the analog tapes, um, the tape, you're still using tapes, and then the tapes went to digital, so it was like a digital 8 tape.
right. When you say
So
tape, do you mean like when we used to go to drop the film off? The roll, the canister?
not the roll, no, like they look like a cassette tape. They
Oh,
kind of look like
actual. Okay. So you're talking moving, you're talking about videography.
yes.
No, okay, got it, got it, got it. So
Sorry, no, yeah, this
you went
still I did have a stills camera, but no, I'm talking like shooting video.
you went straight into video.
I kind of did.
Whoa. Okay. Where was your vision at that time?
Um, this may sound really funny. I don't know if people, a few of my friends know this, but I used to be a huge Seattle Supersonics fan, basketball.
Oh, interesting.
And it was kind of the same time. This was like early 90s. And I had my driver's license in like 92. So the whole grunge scene was happening, right? So you had
Yes.
like, like Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, all these bands. So all this great music. I was in high school, right? And I was able to go to these basketball games and every once in a while, like the Pearl Jam guys would be there and they'd be at like halftime. And it was really cool. It was such a cool time. And I would come home and I would actually take like two VCRs and like record the highlights from all these. Seattle Supersonics were an amazing team at that point,
Right.
like just superstars. It was really cool, and I'd edit these like sequences of uh basketball clips. So I was like using these VCRs to like edit. It wasn't like an editing. This was way before like the non-linear editing we use on like Mac computers or whatever. This is
Right.
just like playing with music and it all stemmed from really the music. Music is kind of my language.
Ooh, and then we'll come back to this later because you must feel like you have your handcuffs on when you can't use certain licensed music too, I think.
Yeah. I started playing the banjo when I was 8. I don't pick it up that much at all anymore, but my kids are really into guitars and that kind of thing. So the music is like, I love music. Working with musicians, I like editing the music. That's like the base layer of everything I do.
When you were double recording, and I remember that because I used to do that with my music cassettes. You were recording the music or the games? Both to use.
I would like record the games um off TV like highlights. This is
Yeah.
so geeky and nerdy, but I'd record the games and then the only way to edit the music was to like play a track from a tape. Was it tapes? It must have been tapes to the video. I did it somehow, and then it came together, and I was able to actually like I just have like all these tapes with all these different clips, and I could put it together. And I mean, people were just like, "How'd you do that?" And I still have this one tape that has all this stuff, and it's classic. It's really
Is it good?
rough, but it's pretty cool. Like the music's awesome.
So, did you, as far as editing goes, you literally were editing between players?
Hmm.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then when did you decide on these fishing trips that it'd be a good time to try to document the time with your buddies?
Yeah, well, that was kind of high school where I just kind of take it and then you'd have CDs, right? So then that made it a little easier to have super high quality files to work with. But that was still before like Final Cut or Adobe had the editing system. So that I remember having this editing system. It was all analog and I used it for a very short time. And this is when after I went back to school in Bozeman. So I ended up going back there and I went to school for the first year and then I took the second year off, moved to Big Sky, and I was a guide out there.
Okay. Now it's making sense. I've always associated you with Montana. Everything's
Yeah.
clicking now. Okay.
Yeah. And so that is when that first year at MSU in Bozeman, that's when Final Cut Pro 1 came out. And the computer era of like digital and all that, making it was mind blowing. Like seriously, I can just like upload all my video footage to a hard drive and like use it all right away. And it was still super slow and clunky, but that made it super fun, fast, and then I could really, put together that like opened up a whole new world of editing, right? And making it just really neat. So I ended up living in Bozeman, or I'm sorry, Big Sky, living there for a while, and I was making some videos for like the places that I was working at. Um, and guiding. I spent a lot of time there in the Yellowstone Park, guiding in the park. I loved that area.
Who were you guiding through? Because you can't just pick up and grab a guiding license in
No.
the park, right?
No, I was with Lone Mountain Ranch. They were an Orvis endorsed
Okay.
uh, destination, and they had park permits. One of like maybe just a ha small handful. I think there's two licensors of Yellowstone Park guide permits. So I was lucky. I was able to fish the Gallatin River to do walkway trip. That was the best because a lot of the guides were driving from Big Sky all the way around to fish the Upper Madison or all the way down to Bozeman and around to the Yellowstone. So, since I was early, that was the early days for me of guiding. I was able to just take these walkway trips, and that was the best because I wasn't
Yeah.
driving that far, and I was able to spend time on the Gallatin. Have you fished the Gallatin out
No,
of
I fished
here?
Montana, but not the Gallatin.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a
And
really neat river.
does the whole thing run through the park?
No, it starts up in Yellowstone, starts in the park, and then it flows out of the park. So it's flowing south to north. So it flows like out of the park and goes north past Big Sky, and then it goes through like Four Corners by Bozeman.
Wow, it's long.
Yeah, it's pretty long. And it's different, the upper section's really pretty, kind of it's really beautiful in the park. It's just like lots of grass and cut banks, and it's really neat.
So how
Yeah.
many years did you guide there?
I was there for I think 3 summers,
Okay.
and I wasn't living there for three summers, but I was going back and forth from Bozeman because I went back to school and kept guiding throughout going to school. So, and that then I was doing trips out of a couple shops in Bozeman and doing Yellowstone and the Madison, the
Of
stuff that's
course.
just hammered now these days.
Yep.
Uh, it's busy, but yeah, Bozeman was great. It's still great. I don't go back as much, but sure has grown like all the great places.
Where are you living now?
I'm in Sisters, Oregon, in
Okay, so you went back to the
Central
west.
Oregon.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And
I like it here.
yeah, good. So are you going to stay there?
I don't know. I mean, I like it, but I could see myself moving again, maybe. I don't know. I like it here a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely, the ocean. I can get over the pass, the Cascades, into the Oregon coast in 3.5 hours. But then we have desert, so I can go east and be in the desert.
Yeah, it's kind of the best of both worlds over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're close to Canada. Um,
Exactly. I can get up to BC in, 8 hours.
Talk to me a little bit about this first film. Was it in the park?
Oh boy. Well, normally the park's got a lot of restrictions, so I really didn't do anything in the park. I did take video in the park, but it was mainly just for fun. I mean, a lot of it was for fun back then. So there are clips from Yellowstone. My first film though, um, geez, it was before Catch Magazine. It was probably like, well, I have some films from the Montana area of friends, just stuff that I threw together that I can remember. I don't know where those are. I could probably find them somewhere. But I think probably the first really good video I made was a New Zealand video
Okay.
where this was down the road though. This was probably in early 2000s when my wife got a job teaching school down in the very southern part of the South Island.
Cool.
And so we lived down there for a while. And I was able to, while she was working, classic, right? While she was working, I was fishing and going up to like see some friends up on the north part of the South Island. So I was able to do a really neat video then about New Zealand.
What year
Yeah.
was that?
I want to say that was maybe 2001,
Okay.
2000, 2002. I
Okay.
want to say there was stuff earlier than that though. Like in my Big Sky, when I was living in Big Sky, I was making videos. But they were just for fun, right?
Yeah.
They weren't
What was the plan? Did you want to
shown
do this?
anywhere.
Did you want to do
Um,
it professionally or were you trying to be
I
something
knew
else?
I knew there was something there, especially with the editing, because when people would watch it, they'd be like, "Wow, this is really neat." Part of it was no one was really doing it, and they hadn't seen that before. Um, I mean, there had been plenty of films done by SA and by the classics, right? But not of like just taking your camera out and putting it in your computer and editing it out, right? Um, I think the big transition was when I moved from Bozeman to Missoula, and my wife she got a scholarship to get her master's in journalism. So we moved to Missoula, and I got a job with a company that shot like the ESPN fly fishing, the legit fly fishing the world TV shows, Fly Fishing the World and Fly Fishing America. And that was kind of where it was at. I walked in there and I just showed them a few things and they're like, okay, you're hired. And so I went in and um, started traveling like crazy. Like I was on the road.
Okay.
It was like real production, like the real deal. You know, you got a production crew, you're on the road, you come home for a day, you're gone the next day. And that went on for like 2.5 years. So I was really busy, but I learned a ton by being with those people and meeting a lot of amazing people. So,
At this time, were you in the industry, quote unquote industry? I'm going to be inching my way into the whole O'Keefe conversation and that magazine. But
well,
first,
through the guiding, like I was definitely in his industry for
yeah, had you
sure.
created a bit of a name? Were people seeking you out at that point?
Mm, no, I don't
No.
think. I mean, see, for my video work
Yeah,
or just, I think people knew, like Brian knew of me then for
right.
sure. Because I had met him like when I was in high school, because he was repping and he was coming through Issaquah to the new fly shop, right?
You knew
So
him when you were in high school?
yeah, I met Brian like back a long time ago.
Okay, so how did this all come to be? Because can you just set the stage for people listening who have no idea what we're talking about with Catch Magazine? Who is Brian O'Keefe and what is this crazy project that he started
Well,
back then?
so Brian, I think probably the first time, I'm sure I'd run into Brian at sportsman shows and didn't really even know who he was, but I was probably only 10 or 11.
Oh, wow. Okay,
You
little.
know, when he was doing his thing and he was younger, right? But he was a rep, like a legit rep in the big brands, whatever. But I think it was probably more when I was in high school, going into Creekside, seeing the reps come through. He was one of them and one of the classics, right? Um, and he knew, it was always his photography. I was always interested in that. And the video thing, he had definitely seen some of my videos because the guys at Creekside would always play my videos. And this was like really crummy stuff, but it was still cool because they could play it. And they're like, yeah, there's some local kid, playing so Brian knew of me. And then, fast forward years down the road, after I was in Missoula, I moved to Oregon. So there's a lot that went on in between then working for the fly fishing, working for the production crew in Missoula. But we, when I moved to Oregon, um, Brian, that's where he didn't grow up in Oregon. He actually grew up in Washington, like not far from where I grew up. But he lived in Oregon for a long time. We got together and he knew I was there. We talked and he was done repping. He was just like over it. Um, too much on the road and it was slowing down as far as everything with the fly industry. This was like 2006 or 7 and we were just like, what should we do? Let's do something.
Together. Oh my, I feel like such an
Yeah.
ass. I did not know that you guys did it together. And that's bad because I remember it launching.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Oh,
was working at a
sorry.
newspaper in Bend. When I moved, I got this job at the newspaper and I was doing like video stuff for them and highlighting sporting events and stuff. And but I had like a night job there. So it was like I was working the night shift. So in editing, and I was good. Like I could knock stuff out really quick, and they were happy. But Brian, we sat down and we're like, what can we do? We're here. You do photos, I'll do video, and we'd meet downtown Bend often. and we came up with all these ideas, but it came down to let's build something that's a coffee table style book that's minimal text, works really well online. So it's big photos, big photo after photo. The visuals tell the story with captions. And we came up with the name and we started Catch Magazine in like late 2007. And it's been rocking and rolling ever since. So we're
That
out
is
going on
so
like
cool.
almost 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I remember all of that. And it was always so sharp with the black background. And
Yeah,
I remember all of us actually, there were a bunch of us guides and steelhead bums looking at it, being like, but what is it?
yeah,
We like it. What is it? It hadn't been done before.
yeah,
It,
yeah,
it was really, it kind of changed everything.
yeah.
And it did, it made everything very visual. So, but I didn't
Mhm.
know that the video element was from the beginning. I always thought that came later. I think the first one I saw was maybe Hannah Belford's
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
did that.
That was pretty early. Yeah, that was probably one of my first real. I mean, Brian and I had done a handful. I can't remember what year that was. Like that was it was a while ago, right? And
Yeah.
I did a part one and part two with Hannah. But that was like the first, I think one of the first really good stories that I actually captured. And it is a great story, you know?
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely. So it's
great
actually one of my
people.
favorite videos. People can still watch it. It's on YouTube now, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's on YouTube. Yep,
But
Steelhead Dream.
that was when I
Yeah.
first saw the video aspect. So was that always the plan? You guys always thought that you would do video and photo?
100%. Yeah,
Cool.
it was Brian with the photos and we were gonna reach out to other photographers. So it wasn't just like we were gonna do it. It was just us, right? I think when we started the first couple editions, it was a lot of us. I think I had like two or three videos in it and Brian had like two or three essays and then we had a couple other photographers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely half video. Well, the cornerstone of the magazine was always going to be the film. So the video was actually that was going to be the big project of each edition.
Right. Where were you guys planning on hosting them? Because this is way before people could just log in on their phones and see YouTube.
Yeah.
Where were you
Yeah.
putting, how were you hosting them and making that accessible to people? I mean, actually, I'm
Well,
thinking about it. That was probably before was it before smartphones? I'm doing the math on it. Maybe BlackBerry time? I don't
yeah,
know. It would have been
we
early.
weren't, yeah, it was I can't remember there was nobody's watching them on phones because I remember making that transition to trying to get the iPad version and the phone version and making it all work, you know? But
Yeah.
when we first started, it was complicated to
Yeah.
make that back end run. So do you remember Adobe Flash?
Yeah. Oh, the Flash players.
Right?
Yeah. One
Flash
mess.
player. So I had to build, I built the whole magazine, every one of those early editions in Flash.
Ugh, I'm sorry for you.
And it was like, it's like learning another language.
Yeah.
So the videos were all Flash player type. They were all Swift files, I think. Like they were an Adobe type media file. They weren't a movie file. They were they were just really compressed. But back then you didn't know, right?
Yeah.
No one understood. Like it was tiny. It was like the screens were all small. So yeah, it was hard. YouTube didn't come along, but see that YouTube didn't come along until around then, but we didn't use YouTube at all. So it
Yeah.
was
Was that a
pretty.
monetization thing? Because I guess that's something people will be wondering is how was it monetized?
So we started with Catch when it started. It was just free. We had no idea. We were just like, okay, let's see what we can do.
That's why
It was
we were so
weird.
confused because we were like, there's so much work in this.
Yeah,
What's the catch? It's almost like that's what it was what's the
yeah,
catch?
yeah.
There's no
That's hilarious.
advertising where I
Yeah,
think did I see advertising? I don't think I saw advertising early, did I?
there was a few ads in there. There was
But
definitely a few ads.
and
So
free subscription, it was free. There was no
it was
charge at the
definitely
time.
free. Yeah.
Right.
Because even if we would have wanted to put a paywall up, I wouldn't have known how to do that. It would have been too complicated.
Yeah.
So it was free. Just get it to run, right? Right? Just get it to work online and then we'll be happy. And we had like Scientific Angler. they've been great. And then R.L. Winston's been an advertiser and supporter of what we do for since day one. So
Yeah.
there's a few in there. There was like, I think, um what are the others? There was a couple others. Ex Officio. Remember Ex Officio?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were, I think they advertised a little bit. We had Oakley in there at the very early beginning. Yeah. So there was a few advertisers in there, and that worked for a while until we were like, okay, how are we gonna actually like really make money doing this? This is really tough because we're putting in so much time. I was just like putting in so much time. We're like it got to a point where it was big, after like 5, 6 years, we had good numbers, but the marketing budgets of the fly industry companies, and it was early enough to a lot of these companies were like, oh, it's all paper still. Like no one wants to, it's not digital yet. And we were just like, well, it's gonna happen. Digital is
Yeah.
like, right? You got the phones, everybody has a phone now. So we finally were like, we can't do this if we're going to keep it free. We got to put up a paywall and just go for it. It's either going to go away or we need to put the paywall up and depend on the people that love it because we know we had enough people that were looking at it. So we put the paywall up and you kind of had to start over because one day you're flipping the switch and it's locked off. So we just had to watch people subscribe. And it's funny, I got an email last week, or it wasn't an email, I think it was a Facebook post where somebody commented, he's like, I've been a subscriber since day one. People have been watching this thing go forever. We have the best following of anything in the fly industry. It's just people just the Catch magazine love is there. It's really cool to have. I don't know if it's because it was just Brian and I, and now it's just me, but Brian's, he always contributes to it still. Um, or it's the vision that's just been straightforward the whole time. It hasn't, we're changed quite a bit as far as like how the video productions go. They were used to be really short. Like, I mean, I had some videos at the beginning that were like 4 minutes, and they're
Okay.
great, but they're more in depth. They're longer now. So that's changed a little bit. But as far as like the music driving it, just it's the same type for the films. It's the same type of production as day one, really. They're just great. I love them.
I think it's authenticity. I think that's
Yeah.
why it's so popular is it's always felt like you've had fly fishing's best interest at heart. It's always
Hmm.
felt authentic. I think even from launch, it felt like a passion project, which is why we were all so intrigued but so confused by it,
Hmm.
and didn't want
Yeah.
it to go away. So I think it's just
Yeah.
authenticity and beauty. And when you envision what fly fishing is, whether it's for adventure or for relaxation, it's captured through your work. So I think that's probably part of the mystery of why it's so popular.
Yeah. The being authentic, I would say that's probably one of the things that I'm most proud of. It's very authentic. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And um, yeah.
It's kept its integrity. So then how
Yeah.
did that work or how did that look when Brian stepped back? I actually remember all of this happening because we were in Argentina, or no, Chile the first time. And
Hmm.
Charles and I had just been engaged. So 11 years ago, I remember it all kind of starting to happen. Is that about the time when the handover happened?
Yeah, like the year, when was that? Was it 11 years ago?
I know it was all starting to happen because Brian was in his hotel room he's plugging away. I think he was talking at the time about stepping back.
Yeah.
So maybe it
Yeah.
happened closer to 10, but I remember the
Yeah.
conversation starting.
Yeah, he had some stuff going on in his personal life, and he was gonna do some stuff on the side or whatever, and he also was like being really cool, and he's like, "You've got a family, Todd. Like, you just run with it. And it's almost like we still talk almost every other day, It's like it's almost like he's still part of it, in a way. Um, and so he just kind of he got his job with 11, um, and did his thing, and I just kept plugging away doing my thing. And I was building the whole thing, and dealing with, not dealing, but like communicating with all the photographers and doing all that anyway. So it wasn't like, yeah, the transition was
Easy.
simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. Um, we've done some great videos since then.
Let's talk about some of the places you've been because you have been, it feels like you've been everywhere. Do you have a favorite film that we can start with? I love the New Zealand ones. I've actually come to associate a lot of my like you with New Zealand because of all the
Yeah.
videos I see, which now makes sense hearing your story. But is
Yeah.
there a video in particular that you're really proud of or something quite pivotal in your
Mm,
career?
well, it's funny. It's like thinking about all these, I almost like forget about some of them now because
Scary.
I'll remember one. Like when you bring up the Damned Tracks with Hannah, like that's a great video.
Yeah.
It's the quality of the camera back then isn't super, it's not tack sharp like today's cameras, but it's still amazing. Like I loved that one. That was really cool because it was one of the first real stories that I told. This last film in Finland, that place was a big eye opener.
Oh, that's right. You went to Yanni's place.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. I had him on 2 episodes ago. Tell me about it. Is it as amazing as it sounds?
it's pretty amazing.
Okay, so you fly in, tell me the whole story. You get
So
there.
yeah, you fly into Helsinki and you fly in, and what I noticed is it's just flat. You think of the landscape. I was thinking, the landscape, like thinking of like Sweden, Norway, mountains and everything. It's just flat. And so it's water. There's lakes everywhere
Oh,
and just rolling hills. And it's just beautiful. So it's why that there's so many great fishing opportunities there. It's just covered in water. Where we were in the District, it was covered in water. It just was amazing. So there's fish everywhere.
right.
And I took the train. Passy, one of the long Catch magazine photographers we've had for he's been in Catch since, I don't know, maybe the fifth issue. So he's the one who set this thing up. He wanted me to come for years, and we finally made it. My wife was able to come, so that was great. And yeah, we took the train. We got to Yanni's friends picked us up, and his little lodge is on a lake, and all these buildings are red. It's just classic, it's really, really neat. Um, the fishing was phenomenal. And the way that the brown trout is what we were fishing for. There's also pike, but the brown trout are world class.
Were you guys in the river?
Hmm.
And what about the rapids? He said that a lot of them hang in rapids. Is that right?
Yeah, so they call them rapids and they're short. You got a lake and then you got a short little rapid, then you got another lake. So they fish all these little short stretches of water, but it's really moving. When I was there, the water was high. So it was rocking and rolling when we were there. We didn't even get to fish half the spots because Passy couldn't get to half the spots, but it was still good. And these brown trout they get huge. They're giant, like
Yeah.
trophies fish, big. And so these fish will chase the bait fish from lake to lake. And these bait fish, the bleak, they call them, they're tiny. They're just, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches long, 2 inches long, whatever. And they go crazy over these little bait fish. The browns will chase them and they'll just bust bait in these little rivers. Like you're in the woods, right? And these browns are just taken off. And in the video, I just stayed out there and I captured some pretty good stuff for these fish just blowing up out of the water after bait. You can see the little bait fish just like, flailing.
What's the
Yeah.
story when you go to do something like this? Are you just looking for cool fishing? Are you looking for a set story?
On this one, I mean, I knew that Passy was going to be my angler. So, and I'd never been there. So I knew that it was going to be his story. It was going to be about him. I wanted it to be about him. I didn't know anything about the location. So I kind of go into these things like Mother Nature tells the story.
Yeah,
And
I like
so
that.
back in the day of all this ESPN production crew stuff, like they had these set lists, production lists. It wasn't like, okay, we got to do this, this, this. We were kind of laid back with it, but it got to the point where I think that's probably why I'm so good at what I do today because of what I learned back then dealing with big production crews, how much you don't get done with that many people because
Yeah.
it's there's just too much. And I think it has to do with fishing, being on the river, you're being, you know, under the influence of your surroundings completely. Like you just don't know what's going to happen, right? So now it's I go into these things with a super open mind. And whatever happens, I usually have a kind of an idea, but if it's not gonna, I'm not gonna get all bent out of shape if it doesn't work. It's because
Yeah.
something will happen. It's cool.
Do you have a
So,
trip that totally blindsided you where you went in expecting nothing but walked out fascinated by your story?
boy, um, I've had some tough ones. Definitely had some tough trips. None of them are easy.
Yeah.
Fishing, it's never easy. Like I've never been able to go in a day and knock it out in a day and walk away and be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like the magic number for me is 3 days.
Oh,
If
that's
you,
pretty good. I thought you were going to say
I can get
five.
it done in 3 days. It's
Right.
got to all come together in 3 days. If not, it can take longer, but if the stars are aligning, 3 days is usually it.
Do you
Yeah.
find yourself more fascinated by the people or the fishing
Good question. I'd probably
or the places?
The Finland trip, it was both. Like the fish, because I'd never seen that before. I have a pretty good idea of what the fish are gonna do, so it can be the same in a lot of areas, but so it's probably the
Yeah.
people, the
Oh, it's
anglers,
a little
stories.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could see that.
Yeah.
Do you have a trip that was the most dangerous?
Mm, yeah. Hmm. Uh, I got in a plane crash in the Bahamas during the production days, so that could have been bad. That could have been the end there.
Please
Yeah.
proceed to
It,
explain. What do you mean? What?
well, we were filming a Fly Fishing the World show down in the Acklands Islands, the Bahamas, like one of the islands far south. And we, the owner of the show missed his flight. So we were in Nassau and we missed our flight down, like the charter, not the charter flight, just the normal airline flight down to the island. So at the last minute, on these production schedules, it's like minute after minute. It's just brutal. Like you're there, you gotta get it done, and this is one thing after another. And so we were scrambling to try to figure out the talent or the on-camera angler was already down there, so waiting for us. So he's down there waiting, and so we were scrambling around trying to find a charter flight. So at the last minute, we find this charter. I remember driving around in the back of a pickup truck down in NASA, going from hangar to hangar, trying to find a charter plane to take all our stuff down. And back then, the production crew, the weight, the bulk of everything. I mean, we're talking big, giant Sony, 40-pound shoulder mount cameras and tripod, just it's crazy. So we overloaded the plane big time. It took forever to get take off. We were all there was like seven of us in the six, let's see, five of us in the plane plus a pilot, and we're all kind of like, okay, that took a long time. We're in the air like a lot longer. We had an idea, it was like a 40 minute, and we were in the air. It was like 60 minutes. It was just, and it's not like we fell out of the sky, but we hit the runway going super much faster than we should have. And the pilot yells, "No brakes," like he's freaking. And you can feel, the runway down there is like a short, you know what these short little runways are. Like you can see the end. It's like coming up.
It's like a gravel pit. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
tiny.
Yeah. And one of the brakes locked up. It like flipped the plane up on its side and then it came back down. It and we were still the landing gear ripped off and we went into the mangroves and have photos of like the mangroves going through like the wings and like up through the plane. It was gnarly.
Did anyone get hurt?
No. And it was um yeah, I just couldn't believe it. Buzzers are all going off, and they're like, get out, whatever. And like literally like 10 minutes later, like the guy on his little motorbike is coming down the runway, like, are you guys okay? Crazy.
Did you put that as part of the video? Did you include all that?
No.
You left that part of the story. Oh,
No,
maybe for
it wasn't
destination.
I
Okay.
wasn't editing
Oh,
it,
that's right.
so
You were working for
yeah.
the
This
guys.
was like
Yeah.
back in the day where you just give them the tapes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I'm happy that you're here because that's pretty serious.
yeah. Yeah, that was pretty scary. It was after that where I was like, that's when I quit there, quit that job and moved to Oregon. It's like
But
I can't do that
mm-mm,
craziness.
it's just not worth it, especially with a
Yeah,
young family too.
yeah,
For
yep.
Catch, has there been a project that you found that pushed you a little bit out of your comfort zone?
Amazon probably was.
Where were you in the Amazon?
Oh, so we did some untamed angling destinations. So we did like the mothership for bass, and then we did the Arapaima um, location, which was cool. That was probably the one place where I was the most like on edge because of
Yeah.
all giant caiman. I was like, I got to get out of the boat, you guys. I can't like you can't put me with a camera in this boat and just leave me in the boat. Like I'm gonna go crazy. So I was just like, drop me off. That probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. So I'm up in like the bushes, in the bush, just like looking side to side, waiting for something to happen. But then, I got my shots. I was out of the boat.
Yeah,
But
it's true. Yeah,
that
you
was just,
sacrificed your life for it. But it's funny because I remember being in Bolivia and we were there specifically trying to film a piece about two-hand fishing for Dorado. Marcelo really wanted this piece on two-hand fishing for Dorado. And
yeah.
one of the things that we were doing, because I wanted to hit the other side, was I was just overhead casting. And I
Mhm.
waded out quite deep. I was promised that nothing would eat me. It was just caiman. They only ate fish, la da la da la da.
Yeah.
I go to Guyana this year and see, by the way, the biggest caiman I've ever seen. I swear this one, we all agree it was about 12 and a half, 13 feet. But had another one try to eat me. And I mean, that's exaggerative, but it definitely was making an attempt. And one of the guys, because I was cleaning a piranha head to bring back for my daughter,
Nice.
and this thing had been kind of stalking and sneaking. And finally, it was starting to get real close. And one of the guys behind me starts screaming and running down to the river. And I've learned when I got back to the internet, I started looking at caiman fatalities. They
Uh,
absolutely will attack people. So this whole
uh,
notion of they don't attack humans is false. Just for everybody listening, getting in the
yeah.
water, it's false. They will.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around down there. Like
Mm-mm.
the stingrays situation too. I don't know if you saw those in the water, like getting
Yeah.
out and wading around those. You got to be really careful.
Yep, the
But yeah.
jaguars, there's snakes, there's all sorts. I mean, even the ants. Is it hard for
Oh,
you as a camera person? See, for me, as an angler and as an outdoors woman and as a hunter, my job when I'm out there, even if we're filming, is I'm out there focused on listening, smelling, focusing, watching, concentrating.
hmm.
You, I would assume, even though you don't have big shoulder cameras, you
Yeah.
still are checking the lenses, you're trying to follow, maybe you're walking along, maybe not, maybe you're just standing, but you're looking through a lens. Do you ever feel kind of exposed to dangerous situations when
Yes.
behind the
Yes.
camera?
Yeah, you can definitely get in that zone where Um, I've been in that situation where you're like, you got to look over your shoulder every so often, more than not, actually, because everyone's so focused on what's going on. They're trying so hard. Like, when you're an angler on camera, when you're working with me, you're working hard. Especially in the jungle, you're working hard. It's hot, it's uncomfortable. So, yeah, and I'm trying to think like that's probably those situations are mostly from like being in Alaska around bears or British Columbia, where they could be just back right behind you in the woods. You just kind of like, "Ugh, they're back there,
Yeah, you can
right?
hear the sound, but you're also
Yeah,
right in the middle of a
yeah,
shot. How
yeah,
nice is it in New Zealand when you don't have to look down to see if you're stepping on snakes? You don't have to worry about running into a
definitely.
bear. It's just
Yes,
eyes up, it's just black flies and sand flies you're watching out
yes,
for.
yeah. That's super nice. And then in Australia, it's totally different.
Totally
Everything,
opposite.
everything wants to get you.
We were fishing last week just out of Broome. It's in the Kimberley region of Australia, so on the
Okay.
on the west coast up north. crocodiles,
Okay.
saltwater crocodiles central. And it's so weird to be fishing and not just looking for snakes, but also looking to make sure there's no crocodiles waiting to ambush you. It's just, yeah, it's totally
That's
different to
super
New Zealand.
sketchy.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's scary.
Have you done a trip
So
down here? Have you done a video here?
Australia is one of my favorite places in the world.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I did a shoot for Tourism Australia years ago down in Tasmania. That was amazing.
Uh-huh.
I mean, amazing people down there.
Yeah.
And then I did another one um 4 or 5 years ago, and we did I called it East to West, the East Coast. I'm sorry, yeah, East Coast to West Coast. So we did the Great Barrier Reef
Oh, you
and
did.
that whole zone. It was a whole saltwater trip, and we went all the way to the West Coast, and I went up to Exmouth. So
Oh,
I was
one of my
cool.
favorite places.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. It's hard to explain it how cool that place is. The red dirt, the just the water. I mean, the flats there. I don't know. It's so far away, but I would love to go back there because it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and
I
if
think
you did from Exmouth up, Exmouth is kind of the border of, I'm not trying to get you to run into crocodiles, but the fishing gets even more wild from Exmouth all the way up. Did you go up to Cairns? Did you do any of that real north stuff?
no.
You were Great Barrier Reef down and Exmouth down.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Ooh,
it was
exciting.
really Great Barrier Reef, and we did a lot of that, but not all of it. And then the West Coast was just out Exmouth.
Got
We
it.
did fly though to an island north of Exmouth, and we fished this island for a while. It was big enough for like an airstrip. I
Yeah.
forget the name of it, but
I think I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. And they have Indo-Pacific permit.
yeah.
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 Cool. This is
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. 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 That was amazing. I want to go back really badly.
Yeah.
So I
So
want to take my
what
kids there. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, big time. So talk to me about where you're at now then, with career, general fishing. And that's the other thing. When you go on these trips, do you get to fish for yourself? What? At all?
I can if I want, but I'm there to work, right?
Can you tack on a couple days and just fish?
Um, it's a good question, and it's a question like, why not, right? But it seems like with, and look, I'm sitting here just like going, I know, like like this is going on like 20 years of this. Like I have been able to fish. I love to fish. That's why I'm doing, that's how I got into this, right? But I look at Brian and what he's doing with the still camera, and I'm like, I always make fun of him. He's like, well, now it's like phones and everything, but he's just click, click, and then he'll put it down, cast, be fishing and stuff. But with video, you got to be on all the time. And I swear, when you put that camera down, that's when you get the biggest steelhead jump or you get a tarpon jump, and it's like the shot of the whole week. I just can't put the camera down. Even if it were like, I were to take an extra couple days, I could do that. I'm busy and want to get home, right?
Yeah.
Like, but like I probably have amazing things happen. I have really, really good fish karma.
Right. Okay.
So when I pick up a rod, like stuff happens.
Yeah. But that's when you
Yeah.
say, here, buddy or mate or friend or
Yeah.
whomever,
Yeah. Yeah.
child, you got two
hmm
teenagers,
hmm
hold
hmm
my camera for a couple minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's gonna have to start happening where I fish a little bit at least.
Yeah.
I did fish. I did go out in Finland for a couple hours and just fished for fun. I borrowed Yanni's car and drove down one of the bridges and just fished just because we had a little bit of time. So, but normally it's just you're there and you're going up until the very last minute, trying to get as much as you possibly can. Because,
Yeah.
in the back of your mind, you're like, I might not ever be here again. I might not ever be here ever again in my life. So,
So it's more important to you to capture the experience forever rather than just have a memory in your head. But the memories last forever too.
yeah, and it's funny what I just said. Like, then if you're not gonna ever be there, why wouldn't you try to fish for like an hour?
That's what I'm wondering. Sorry.
My mind's so skewed. Trying to get as much as I can, do the best job I can.
Yeah.
So it's a job, like a lot of the video people out there today, they do it because it's they've got money coming from somewhere and they do it for fun or it's just like part of their vacation. But for me, this is like my full-time job to do the best job I can.
Do you still
You
love
know?
it as much as you used to?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I do love it. What I don't like is the screen time,
The editing,
you
you
know,
mean?
when I'm editing, because I'll put a lot of pressure on myself for that.
Yeah. And it
Because I
will
do it
drive a
all.
person crazy slowly. Because the problem is with editing, you can do it 24 hours a day. And you get in the zone and you don't want your muse to be interrupted. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. Do you get yourself, do you have like do you have a cave or somewhere you hide away and just disappear for a few days at a time?
I used to do that. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's good though. That's healthy.
Yeah, I've learned like you can't go in and spend 8 hours in front of the screen. Like all my I can go in and spend 4,
Okay,
and then I
good.
got to get up and go do something else, or I'm done, right? And I have to do something else like work-wise, but trying to, knock something out or force it, it doesn't work. It's art, right? So trying to force art, it's got to come naturally. That's the hard part.
Yeah,
It's like trying to be an artist with it.
yeah,
Like,
I can see
so
that. How do you how do you switch things up? Just a little bit of videography work and then I'll let you get back to your evening, but switching things up so that it's not the same old show every time? Or do you
yeah.
try to operate on some sort of a template?
No, no, I don't think so. There's times where I run into that where I'm like, ooh, this is kind of like let's mix it up a little bit, like the cookie cutter of how the video, how it just kind of lays out, right?
Yeah.
But like when Brian and I, or the early days of the fishing, it was just like fishing and music, which I love, but I like I like having a little more than that these days. Narration's good. Narration isn't always something you need, but if you get into it, like I have this video coming up with my daughter. So I took my son out and did a video with him in British Columbia when he was 11, and it
Right?
was amazing. It turned out great. Well, I took my daughter up to British Columbia this year, and it was like I had it scheduled out to where it should have been perfect, no bugs, minimal bugs. And it was in August. The weather should have been
Hmm.
great.
And
Well, guess
fishing
what
should have
happened?
been good. What? It
Yeah,
didn't.
the weather was tough. And Stella is a little go-getter. She is amazing, but it was just hard. So this video with her, she's got the standard, right, of her brother's video being amazing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she wants something that's going to be unbelievable. And so her video is going to have to be a lot of narration. There's going to have to be like, this is not normally what I have to do, but I'm going to have to make up like a storyline kind of something that's going to be, you know, captivating to people,
Oh,
like
because this isn't just for your family. This is going out.
this is going into the next issue of Catch Magazine.
All right.
Yeah. So I have to this one's going to be more complicated, where I mix it up. It's not going to be the norm. I'm going to have to do some new things like editing techniques or whatever, how it goes together, the puzzle going together.
Yeah.
It's not going to be just like getting there and then outstanding fishing and then you leave. It's going to be like, this is tough. Like I made sure up there I was interviewing her when it was raining and nothing's been happening. And she's just like, well, I'm not catching any fish. Like, how do you,
Oh.
yeah.
Or
So
you could split it into you could postpone it, come back, and then put the two together.
you could.
If you do that, let me know because we'll be up there and my daughter would love to hang with yours.
How old is she?
She's 7, but
Okay.
she's growing up
Yeah.
there. So she knows the Bulkley, like the back of it. The girls row. She's at the point now where she's rowing us.
That's
Not
so
in
awesome.
anything serious, but yeah, she can row. She's good.
Oh, that's so cool. So that's the
Yeah,
same with Stella. She was rowing my drift boat so she totally she can just jump in and like do it. It's so cool to see
comes
these kids.
natural.
Yeah,
Yes, you guys could
that's
come
great.
back. I mean, I'm selfishly putting that out there. So feel free. I mean, and that's the other thing. If you want, we can implement a no camera rule so that you can force yourself to fish because
That would be
you
fun.
could come in, there's no cameras. You could take 2 days to just fish for yourself. So anyway, you just
Wow.
let me know if you come back to
Okay.
BC
All
and
right.
we'll
All right.
take
Oh, I'll be
take care of
back.
you.
I'll be
You
back at some point. BC is unbelievable.
good, good.
Yeah,
So as far as your creativity goes, and young people, and I'm sorry, I know I'm pushing my luck here, but a lot of young people, myself included, look up to you when it comes to your videography. Do you have any advice for any of us on how we could make our videos better? Or do you notice something really lacking with the videos being put out nowadays that could use some improvement?
too long.
They're too long.
That's not that's not the situation for some, but I feel like, and I'm actually thinking maybe, so you say today. So back years, seemed like a lot of videos were just too long. Like there's actually a story, but the story ended and then it like kept going for another 5 minutes. And it's like, oh my gosh, it would have been great if it was so shorter videos. I'm not saying short, it's all should be shorter videos, but I think a lot of them are too long.
Yeah, okay.
Um, uh,
And you're
gosh,
talking about films that we see in tours and festivals, that kind of stuff?
yeah, especially the film tours. Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. If you can chop off, if you want people to end the video and go, gosh, should have been more. That's when you've nailed it.
Oh, okay. That's a
So
really good bit of advice.
so to the creator, they're going to be like, oh, I should have put that shot in there. They wanted more, but if they leave wanting more, um, that's great. You pulled it off.
Yep, that's a
Yeah,
great bit of advice.
yeah, yeah.
What about for you? You're 49 years old. You're at a great age. Your kids are, mid-teens. You
Yeah.
technically could be free probably in 5 years. What are you gonna do? What's your long-term plan?
Good question. I could see myself doing this for I mean, not the video editing, like the hardcore editing like that I'm doing still now, but traveling and capturing stories all over the world. I could see myself taking advantage of what I've created and doing that. Because it's like probably you can go just about anywhere, you know? I can I got a ticket anywhere really from all the stuff that I've done. Like people really enjoy it. Like, have you ever been to Greenland?
No.
I haven't either, and I just got an email yesterday like Greenland. I've never been to Greenland, but there's opportunities that pop up all the time. So I think I always liked shooting. Um, I could see Catch Magazine being bought at some point and then helping with it because of the following that I have. I mean, I got the golden goose list of people that like to support and love what we do. They pay for subscription now. So those are the people that have the money to go on these trips. They're not the people that are wanting everything for free. So the people that watch what we do, what I do, they're good people. They're so um I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it'll be good.
Where are you going next?
I have a trip to Iceland in August, so that's a ways out. Um, I had a really, really busy year last year, and I'm still like I have hard drives right here. Like I'm still
Catching up.
getting those out of the way, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't have anything. Greenland might happen. Finland, they want me back in Finland at the end of July.
Yeah, right. That's cool. Can you bring your kids on that one?
I could, yeah, I could bring one of them.
That could be a way
Yeah, yeah,
to redeem
yep,
that.
yep.
Yeah.
So,
Way to make
yeah,
BC look bad. Fishing was so bad in BC that we had to take her across the world to Finland.
I don't know. BC's pretty good. We just hit it, one of those bad. It
I
was
know.
just
We hit it too. It was the hardest steelhead year of my life. We were
bummer.
there, yeah, mid to late October, but
Yeah.
okay, let's do a quick little bit of promotion so people know where to find you. Where can people find you to subscribe?
Yeah, so Catch Magazine is at catchmagazine.net. We tried the .com thing, but it's catchmagazine.net. And yeah,
Fitting.
subscribe. Yeah, subscription is it's for what we do. You're supporting what I do. You're supporting what it's all about. It's the Journal of Fly Fishing, Photography, and Film, and it's going on almost 20 years now. So, it's not just we call it kind of art and entertainment from the beginning, but you do learn a lot from the films, It's never we were never a big gripping grin thing. Like I remember just back years ago, like always keeping the fish in the water, just little things like that. People learn from that.
Yeah,
So,
set a standard. It set a standard in many ways,
yep.
obviously, and we've covered those, but artistically and ethically, I think it definitely set a standard.
Mhm.
Okay, is there anything that I've missed about your timeline that is relevant that I should be asking here?
Oh gosh. I mean, there's so much more, but
Yeah. When can we
I've
see a
been able to,
film about you? I would love to see a film about you. Have you thought about doing that?
no,
Like a behind the scenes?
no, but that would be actually really cool.
I'd love to see a behind the scenes, interviewing you, telling us about your background, and then oh my God, okay, having somebody go with you on one of these trips that you really loved filming, that you never got to fish at, that you always wish that you did fish.
Yeah, yeah,
That would be
that would be
kind of
pretty
fun.
cool. That would be really neat. There's a
Yeah.
good story there for sure.
Yeah.
There's a great story just with like the R.L. Winston crew, just being, connected with them for so long.
Yeah. How did that all happen?
I think it was just when I lived in Bozeman, I think I'd made those trips just over to Twin Bridges every so often, and I ended up meeting the owner, David and Dachi,
Hmm.
and he's kind of a film guy. He is from California, but he just loves fishing. And he loves photography. So he saw that, and I think he started supporting us from the beginning, but he never went in another direction because of what he was seeing. And ever since day one, they have been so great in supporting everything I do. And they're in the heart of some of the best fly fishing in the world, whether it's 15 minutes down the road or, over the hill to the Madison or whatever. It's amazing country. So it's a great company and they're just great people in a great location.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to want to follow up again at some point because I will have more questions. But I think what my suggestion, my little bit of advice would be,
Yeah.
when we hang up and you're like, oh, she didn't ask about this, or oh shit, I should have mentioned that, or whatever the things are, write them down. Do a behind the scenes. I would love to see a behind the scenes Todd Moen piece where you just address a lot of the things that we don't know about you, and we get to see what your life is with you in front of the camera.
Yeah.
It'd
That'd
be
be
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll link up Catch Magazine. It's great to finally meet you. Is there anything
Nice to
else that
meet you.
you wanted to add or ask me before I let you get back to your evening?
I don't think so. I think that's all great. This has been great.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can do it again because there is a lot more, but it's just you could sit here since this is like our first conversation, you can't just do it all in an hour.
Well, I can't embarrass you. I can't throw any stories or rumors about you into here. I just don't have any. I'm going to have to accumulate some.
Yeah.
So let me
Yeah.
know if you come to BC because seriously, I really mean it. We'd love to have you, even just at a
Okay.
campfire for a night to get to
Cool.
know you better.
Right on. Okay. Right on,
Okay,
April. Thanks.
cool. Don't be a stranger.
All right.
Okay, talk to you soon.
See you later.
Bye.